because I don't believe that that part is self-energy. Self-energy is something else. And when we tap into self-energy, that comes with peace. Welcome back to the channel. It's great to have you here. My name is Connor. Today, I'm going to be answering one of your questions, and I'm going to keep the name private even though it's a publicly posted question. So let's dive right in. I have a question about when you're having a down day is in quotes. How do we find a balance between cheering ourselves up, using tactics like positive affirmations or self-care to feel better, versus really listening to the parts who feel anxious, sad, lonely, etc.? For me, there's a strong part that just wants to raise my vibration, also in quotes, and feels it's pointless to ruminate. But am I just keeping those negative feelings in exile? Thank you so much for asking. I think just in the asking, there is curiosity, right? And so that is accessing self-energy. And it sounds to me like the interest is to better understand oneself. So this person who's asking this question is then showing two characteristics of self-energy: a desire to better understand one's system, to get closer to different parts involved in the system, and a genuine curiosity. And I love it. So kudos for showing up that way. And so I will just kind of explain this in the way that I understand it using an IFS perspective. We have this place or this centered state, this state of being called self. Self-energy is at the core. And that's kind of what we're attempting to access as much as possible. Calm, curious, compassionate. Those are the 3 C's that I recommend to people to remember because they're easy to remember. And then around self, we have all these different parts of our system. And in the context of this question, this person is asking about a part that wants to raise the vibration, does not want to ruminate. In other words, it does not want to spend very much time with parts that it judges are maybe not high vibration. And it sounds like in that context there's both kind of a judgment, kind of a criticism, perhaps even a dislike of or a pushing away of some parts of the system. The parts of the system that were represented in this was like loneliness, anxiety, sadness. And it sounds like etc. means that there's probably some other parts in there too. Loneliness, sadness, anxiety. So we have this part over here that looks at those and is like, no, that's not. We don't want that. That's not high vibe. We want to be in high vibe. And let's take actions to increase our vibration, i.e. how we feel. And what we're looking to do is to feel alive, to feel good. And anything that doesn't feel like that, we kind of need to hold over here and take actions so that we can get more in our high vibe state. Is this right? Is it wrong? I don't think it's like that. The question is more, am I doing some kind of damage? Am I keeping these parts exiled? Am I not giving them the opportunity to maybe be integrated, to maybe heal, to maybe join the system in a new way, such that I can have an even fuller, greater life? Am I doing that by allowing this high vibe part to be center stage? And my answer to that would be, yeah, that's possible that is happening to some degree. But does that mean that any time you desire to be in a more high vibe state or to feel better, you are also exiling different parts or telling certain parts that they're bad or to go away or that you don't have time for them? Not necessarily. And so I would be really more curious about how can we have both things and how can we hold both with care and see the value in both sides. As with so many things, I really like to think about balance and harmony. IFS aside, it's unrealistic to imagine living a life that is only high vibe, that is exclusively what we would classify as good feelings. We really need the balance of our entire emotional world. But on the other hand, it's also really hard if you have lived for a portion of time only in, say, loneliness, sadness, or anxiety. That can be so tough. And what do you do if you do feel just stuck in that? So again, the opportunity here is to understand the value of both things, of both sides of the spectrum. These parts that just want to feel good, and they have some pretty good ideas of how to feel good, and that in implementing those, they generally do get the result of feeling good. What a wonderful skill to have. Fantastic. I would totally encourage people to use that if they have that skill. And I would totally encourage people to play around with it so that they can develop that skill. But likewise, it's just as important to pay attention and to care for these other parts that they're not really having a good time and they're not really interested in necessarily feeling better. What they're interested in is being seen and being loved exactly where they are. So my encouragement would be make time for both. And how much time does one side need versus the other? That's something I can't tell you because it's going to be really unique to you. It may not be an exact 50-50 split. At certain times, these parts that have a hard time or are struggling, they're going to need a lot of attention. And at other times, you may feel really clean and clear about choosing for this high vibe part to come in and give you some good ideas about getting some good momentum going and just really enjoying life and being in that. Fantastic. The primary piece of the puzzle comes back to self-energy. So can we be in self-energy and be interested in exploring the value of this high vibe part? Can we be in self-energy and be interested in exploring the value of loneliness, sadness, anxiety? Can we, from a place of self, truly understand the value of both? And can we, from a place of self, determine which side may be more appropriate for us to spend time in? In addition, can we look for a potential polarization between these two sides that may need to be resolved? If you're not sure what a polarization is exactly, you can watch my video on polarizations that's in the description box. But essentially, this is where two parts are at odds and they need you from self-energy to come in as sort of the mediator and to help them first be heard and understood by you, and then to potentially help them be heard and understood by each other. And if you can find that with these two sides, if you identify these two sides are kind of at odds, and you can find a way to help them see each other, then your system begins to work better together. And that's what IFS is all about. Getting this whole system more integrated and to work as a true family. Remember that no part is more valuable than another. They are all vital and important and beautiful. So again, nothing wrong at all with having a part of you that enjoys being in high vibe and wants to get you there on a regular basis. And even nothing wrong with this part's judgment of other parts not being able to do that. That's all okay and it makes sense. And it's a really cool skill to have. And also, I would encourage to not exclusively depend on that part for your contentment, for your peace, and for the way that you orient your life. Because I don't believe that that part is self-energy. Self-energy is something else. And when we tap into self-energy, that comes with peace. And peacefulness, I think, is something that we can have across the board, across the spectrum of emotional experiences or life experiences. So the more we can tap into self, the more peaceful we can be. And then the more spaciousness we have to engage with all of our parts. So again, thanks so much for asking. If you have a question, please ask, and I look forward to seeing you at the next video.